June sat at his cramped desk, surrounded by astronomy textbooks and empty ramen cups. The small apartment window offered a view of the night sky, where stars twinkled through Seoul's light pollution. His phone buzzed with another rejected job application. 5 years of studying the cosmos, and all he had to show for it was mounting student debt. A knock at the door interrupted his wallowing. A delivery person handed him a package wrapped in metallic paper that seemed to shift colors under the light. "I didn't order anything," June said, but the delivery person was already gone. Inside was a cube about the size of his palm. Its surface was etched with symbols unlike any language he'd seen. When he touched it, the cube hummed and projected strange symbols into the air. June took photos with his phone before placing the cube on his desk. That night, as he slept, the Boar cube pulsed with light. June woke to find 2 figures standing in his bedroom. The first was tall and slender with skin that shimmered like mother of pearl. Her hair flowed like liquid silver, and her eyes were deep violet. The second had golden cat-like eyes, copper-colored skin, and moved with predatory grace. June grabbed the nearest weapon, a telescope tripod. "Please don't be alarmed," said the taller one in perfect Korean. "I am Ara, and this is Tai. We mean you no harm." "How did you get in here?" June demanded, backing toward the door. Tai gestured to the cube. "The inheritance key brought us to you." "Inheritance?" June's grip on the tripod loosened slightly. "What are you talking about? What are you?" Ara stepped forward. "We are not from your world. We served Grand Admiral Rai, ruler of the 7th quadrant of the Galactic Confederation. Our master has died," Tai added, "and he named you his heir." June laughed nervously. "This is a prank, right?" Ara touched the cube. It projected a hologram of an elderly humanoid with silver skin and 4 eyes. The being spoke in a language of clicks and whistles with Korean subtitles appearing below. "If you are seeing this, then my DNA scanner has confirmed what I suspected. You carry the bloodline of my people. I, Grand Admiral Rai, having no direct descendants, name you my heir to all possessions, territories, and responsibilities of my office. Ara and Tai will guide you." The hologram faded. June sat heavily on his bed. "This isn't possible." "The Admiral traced your lineage carefully," Ara explained. "Some of your ancestors were not from Earth." "But why me?" "I'm nobody." Tai's ears, actually pointed and mobile, twitched. The Admiral believed humans possess unique qualities. He spent decades studying Earth. Before June could respond, the apartment windows shattered. A metal orb flew in, emitting thick smoke. "Bounty hunters," Tai snarled, suddenly holding a weapon that glowed blue. Ara grabbed June's arm. "We must leave immediately. Your inheritance makes you a target." "Target? I haven't agreed to anything." "Agree or not, those who want the Admiral's power will kill you regardless," Tai said, firing the weapon at shadowy figures climbing through the window. The blast sent them flying backward. Ara pressed the cube into June's hand. "This contains access to the Admiral's ship and accounts. We cannot protect you here." Outside, the wail of police sirens grew closer. "I can't just leave Earth," June protested. A blast tore through the apartment wall. Tai tackled June as debris rained down. "You won't survive the night if you stay," Ara said, helping him up. "Once we reach the ship, you can decide your path." June looked around at his small life. His astronomy books, his telescope, his dreams of the stars. Now the stars had come to him. "How do we get to this ship?" he asked. Ara smiled, revealing teeth too perfect to be human. "It's closer than you think." Tai pressed something on her wrist. The air around them shimmered. Just as more armed figures burst through the door, June's apartment dissolved around them. His last glimpse was of Earth fading away as the stars rushed to meet them. June awoke with a jolt. He wasn't in his apartment anymore. He lay on a bed that seemed to float in the air without supports. The walls around him glowed with a soft blue light. For a moment he thought he was dreaming until memories of the attack flooded back. "You're awake," said a gentle voice. Ara stood in the doorway, her iridescent skin reflecting the blue glow of the room. "We're aboard the Celestial Fortune, Admiral Rai's personal ship." June sat up slowly. So it wasn't a dream. You really are aliens. To you, yes, Ara smiled. Just as you would be alien to us. June swung his legs off the bed. Where are we going? To the 7th quadrant, your inheritance. But first we must outrun those who wish to claim it for themselves. She led him through corridors that curved in impossible ways. They reached a central chamber where Tay stood before a wall of shifting images. Our pursuer is still following, Tay said without turning. A mercenary hunter hired by the Council of Five. The Council of Five? June asked. 5 powerful families who believe they should control the 7th quadrant, Ara explained. Admiral Rye kept them in check for centuries. June felt dizzy. Centuries? How old was he? Admiral Rye lived for over 800 Earth years, Tay said. He could have lived longer, but he chose his time. Tay pressed her hand to the wall and the images changed to show a star field. This is where we are now, passing the edge of your solar system. June stepped closer, amazed. We're already past Neptune. That's impossible. It takes years for our probes to reach that far. The ship moves through folds in space, Ara said. What would take your vessels years takes us hours. A red light pulsed through the chamber. Tay hissed and the fur along her neck stood up. They're gaining on us, she said, her fingers dancing across the control panel. Who exactly is chasing us? June asked. Bounty hunters, Ara replied. The first of many who will try to stop you from claiming your inheritance. The ship shuddered. Tay's movements became more urgent. We can't outrun them in normal space, she said. We need to jump. Jump? June asked. Ara placed a hand on his shoulder. Hold on to something. The first jump is always uncomfortable. June gripped a nearby rail. Tay pressed her palm against a glowing circle. The stars on the display stretched into lines. June's stomach lurched as if he was falling from a great height. Then everything went black. When June opened his eyes, the stars had changed. Tay looked pleased. We've lost them, she said. June's legs felt weak. Ara guided him to a seat that formed from the floor. Where are we now? He asked. The Orion Spur, Ara said. Far from Earth, but still in what you would call the Milky Way. I need to understand what's happening, June said. Why did this admiral choose me? What exactly is this inheritance? Tay joined them, sitting cross-legged on the floor. The admiral ruled the 7th quadrant for centuries. It includes 47 inhabited worlds and hundreds of outposts and stations. And now it's mine? June couldn't grasp the scale. If you claim it, Ara said, many will challenge you. I'm just an astronomy student, June said. I don't know the first thing about ruling anything. That's why we're here, Tay said, to teach you. Over the next days, if they could be called days in the endless night of space, Ara taught June about the complex politics of the Galactic Confederation. Tay showed him how to use the ship's systems, surprised at how quickly he adapted to alien technology. Humans have an unusual brain structure, she explained. You can create neural pathways the Admiral's people cannot. As they traveled deeper into space, June began to understand that his life had changed forever. Earth seemed impossibly distant now. Ahead lay an inheritance beyond imagination, and dangers he was only beginning to comprehend. The celestial fortune emerged from its final jump into a dazzling splash of color. The view screen showed a spiral of stars and planets, bathed in the pink and gold light of twin suns. The 7th quadrant, Ara announced with pride. Your inheritance. June stared at the spectacle before him. After weeks of travel and training, he still couldn't believe this was happening. It's beautiful. And dangerous, Tay added, checking the ship's systems. We've been detected. Prepare for escort. Within moments, sleek silver ships surrounded them, their designs reminding June of sea creatures from Earth's oceans. Admiral Rye's honor guard, Ara explained. They've come to welcome you home. The fleet guided them toward a planet that glowed like a sapphire. As they descended through clouds of purple and blue, June saw a city that seemed to be made of crystal and light, sprawling across islands in a vast azure sea. Lumina, capital of the 7th quadrant, Tay said. And your new home. The ship landed on a platform extending from the tallest spire. A crowd had gathered, beings of all shapes, sizes, and colors. Some had multiple limbs, others hovered above the ground, yet others seemed made of living light. They're here to see you, Ara said, adjusting June's collar. They had dressed him in clothes made from a material that shifted colors with his mood, currently swirling with nervous blues and anxious greens. What do I say to them? June whispered. The truth, Tay replied. That you've come to claim what is yours. As the ship's door opened, the noise hit June like a wave. Clicks, whistles, hums, and sounds he couldn't begin to classify. Ara and Tay flanked him as he walked down the ramp. A tall being with 4 arms and skin like polished bronze stepped forward. I am High Minister Kyo. On behalf of the Quadrant Council, I welcome you. The words came from a small device on Kyo's chest, translating the musical tones he made. Thank you, June said, trying to remember his training. I am honored to be here. The inheritance ceremony will take place tomorrow, Kyo continued. Until then, you will rest in the Admiral's quarters. The crowd parted as they were led through the city. Buildings that looked like they were grown rather than built rose around them. Beings of all kinds stopped to stare at June. They've never seen a human before, Ara whispered. You're quite exotic to them. In the Admiral's chambers, a vast suite, at the top of the crystal spire, June finally had a moment to breathe. This is overwhelming, he admitted, looking out at the alien city below. It's about to get more complicated, Tay said, checking a communication device. The claimants have arrived. The what? June asked. Others who believe they have right to the Admiral's position, Ara explained. They will challenge you at the ceremony. That night, unable to sleep, June wandered the Admiral's library, a room filled with objects from thousands of worlds, including Earth. He found books in human languages, artifacts from ancient civilizations, and even a vinyl record player with jazz albums. He really did study us, June murmured. For centuries, said a voice behind him. Ara stood in the doorway. The Admiral believed humans had something special, a quality his people had lost over millennia of advancement. What quality? Creativity. Born of limitation, she said, joining him. His people mastered the stars but forgot how to dream new dreams. The next morning, June stood before the Quadrant Council, 12 beings representing the major species of the region. Across the chamber stood 5 others, the claimants, each watching him with alien expressions he couldn't read. High Minister. Kyo spoke formally. The will of Admiral Rai names this human his heir. Is there challenge? The tallest claimant stepped forward. I challenge on grounds of capability. How can this primitive creature govern what it cannot understand? Before Ara could speak in his defense, June stepped forward. Drawing on everything he had learned, he addressed the council directly. I may be primitive by your standards, he said, his voice steadier than he felt. But perhaps that's exactly what Admiral Rai wanted. A new perspective. A different way of seeing. The council murmured among themselves. June felt Tay's hand squeeze his shoulder in support. Whatever happened next would change his life, and possibly the fate of 47 worlds forever. 3 months had passed since June claimed his inheritance. The challenges from the rival claimants had been settled through a series of trials that tested not just knowledge, but creativity and adaptability. To everyone's surprise, June's human perspective had proven decisive. Now he sat in the grand meeting chamber of the Lumina Spire, surrounded by ministers and advisors from across the 7th quadrant. Many still doubted his abilities. Others had come to respect him. The mining colony on Terax cannot meet its quotas, said Minister Kyo, pointing to a holographic display. The mineral deposits are becoming harder to extract. At this rate, production will cease within a year. The other ministers began discussing complex solutions involving expensive new technologies. June listened quietly, then asked a simple question. What exactly are you mining for? Luminite, answered Kyo. Essential for our faster-than-light drives. And it only forms in these deep caverns? Yes. The pressure and radiation create the perfect conditions. June stood and walked to the display. On Earth, we face similar problems with deep mining. Sometimes the simplest solution wasn't digging deeper, but looking at what we already had differently. He adjusted the display to show the refining process. You're throwing away 60% of the material as waste, right? It's useless slag, said one minister dismissively. Maybe not, June replied. What if the luminite is binding to these other minerals? On Earth, we developed ways to extract metals from what we thought was waste. The ministers exchanged glances. No one had considered this approach. Within weeks, June's theory was proven correct. The waste contained recoverable luminite that had been discarded for centuries. Production doubled without digging a single new tunnel. This was just the beginning of what became known as the human revolution across the quadrant. June approached every problem with fresh eyes, unhindered by centuries of traditional thinking. On the waterworld of Aquarius, where storms had destroyed vital floating cities, June suggested submersible structures instead of rebuilding on the surface. On the desert planet Solon, he introduced Earth irrigation techniques that transformed barren landscapes. Ara watched these changes with growing admiration. One evening, as they stood on the balcony of the luminous spire watching the twin suns set, she placed her hand hesitantly over his. You've accomplished more in 3 months than most rulers do in decades, she said. The people are beginning to love you. June smiled. I'm just looking at old problems in new ways. Humans are good at that. It's more than that, Ara said, her iridescent skin reflecting the sunset. You care about the people, not just the power. Before June could respond, Tay burst onto the balcony, her golden eyes wide with alarm. There's trouble, she said. A biological weapon has been deployed on Mira Colony. Thousands are already sick. The next days were chaos. The disease spread, rapidly affecting most species in the quadrant. Medical teams were overwhelmed. Then came the strange discovery. Humans were immune. It's your immune system, the chief medical officer explained. It works differently from ours. Something in your blood neutralizes the toxin. June didn't hesitate. Take as much blood as you need. If it can help create a cure, do it. For days, June gave blood samples while coordinating relief efforts. Scientists used his blood to develop an antidote that saved millions. As June recovered from the blood donations, Tai rarely left his side. Her protective instincts had grown into something deeper. You risked your life for people you barely know, she said softly. They're my responsibility now, June replied. During his recovery, he received a mysterious message encoded in the Admiral's personal cipher. It led him to a hidden laboratory beneath the luminous spire, where he discovered the truth about his connection to Admiral Rai. In the lab center stood a stasis chamber containing a DNA map that twisted and turned like a living thing. This is why he chose you, Ara whispered, looking at the ancient data. Humans aren't just distant relatives of the Admiral's people. You're their future. The alarm sounded throughout the luminous spire. June rushed to the command center where holographic displays showed hundreds of ships emerging from hyperspace. Their black hulls absorbed light rather than reflected it. The Void Conclave, Tay said grimly, her golden eyes narrowed. They've found us. Ara's fingers danced across the control panels. They've surrounded the entire system. No escape routes. Who are they? June asked, watching the sinister fleet advance. Ancient enemies of the Admiral's people, Ara explained. They hunt any trace of the precursor civilization. The DNA records you found confirmed their worst fears, that human DNA could revive what they destroyed millennia ago. Kyo entered, his bronze skin dull with worry. My lord, our defenses cannot withstand such an attack. The quadrant fleet is outnumbered 10-1. June studied the tactical display. The enemy ships moved in perfect formation, like a single organism. Conventional tactics would fail against such coordination. They expect us to follow standard defense protocols, June said. But what if we don't? He outlined a plan that made the ministers exchange skeptical glances. Earth's military history was filled with outmatched forces using terrain and unconventional tactics to defeat superior enemies. Use the twin suns, June explained. Their gravity creates points where ships cannot easily maneuver. Position our forces there. Against all traditional wisdom, June ordered the Quadrant fleet to break into small groups and hide within the system's asteroid belt and gas clouds. When the enemy fleet entered the system, they found seemingly minimal resistance. As the Void Conclave ships pursued what they thought were retreating defenders, they were drawn into June's trap. Small, fast attack ships emerged from hiding, striking, and vanishing again. The enemy's perfect formation became their weakness, unable to maneuver freely near the gravitational anomalies June had identified. In the command center, June watched as the tide began to turn. Then the entire spire shook violently. "They've breached our defenses," Keo shouted as alarms blared. "Protect the Admiral." Guards surrounded June, but Ara and Tay stepped forward. "We will handle this," Ara said, her skin beginning to glow with inner light. Tay's form seemed to shift, her muscles becoming more defined, her golden eyes blazing. "It's time you saw what we really are." The doors burst open. Soldiers in black armor poured into the command center, led by a tall figure whose face was hidden behind a featureless mask. "The human heir dies today," the leader announced. Ara moved. With impossible speed, her hands trailing light that cut through the enemy armor like paper. Tay leapt among them, her movements a blur of deadly precision. "The Admiral created us to protect his heir," Ara called to June as she fought. "We are more than advisors." The masked leader lunged toward June. Reacting on instinct, June raised the Admiral's medallion, the symbol of his authority that he always wore. The artifact glowed, responding to his touch in a way it never had before. A pulse of energy knocked everyone back. The medallion split open, revealing a crystal that floated into the air. It projected a massive hologram of Admiral Rai. "Brinals, protocol activated," the hologram announced. "Precursor defense network online. Throughout the system, ancient weapons hidden in planets and moons awakened. The Void Conclave fleet found themselves caught in energy webs that drained their power." The masked leader staggered to his feet. "Impossible. The precursor technology was destroyed." "Not destroyed," June said, understanding flowing into him from the crystal. "Just waiting for the right DNA signature to activate it." As the battle ended and the enemy retreated, June stood at the balcony of the luminous spire with Ara and Tay at his side. The first diplomatic vessels from Earth were arriving, responding to the messages he had sent months ago. "A new chapter begins," June said, watching the Earth ships approach. "For humans and for the galaxy." Ara's hand found his. Tay stood close, on his other side. Together, they faced the future, an Earthling and two loyal alien companions, united by forces older than the stars themselves.